Today I'm looking at a Sony ICF-9650W that I picked up on eBay a week or two ago, reasonably cheap. And this radio seems to work fairly well. It suffers from the usual scratchy and intermittent controls, so I think I'm going to take the back off and clean those up. But just before I do, you can see here, just kind of spinning through the dial. It does a pretty good job of picking up stations, and I'm just down here in the cellar with no antenna, no external antenna on this thing, and I'm getting all the local stations with no problem, and the sound quality on this thing is pretty good. If I switch over to AM, you can kind of hear similar results, able to pick up most of the normal stations and some further away ones, which is what you would expect at night, but reasonable performance with no external antenna and down here in the cellar. Okay, so the back of the radio here looks like there are just a handful of screws to remove, and the back ought to come off. So I'll just start here and work my way around. Well, I've got all the screws out of the back, and it looks like in this case the radio shell kind of comes up and out of the radio, and the cord here, put that aside, and here is the main radio chassis, what's left. So it looks like everything, all the controls, of course, are going to be under this circuit board. So I may need to pull this board off, and it looks like there are 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 screws here to pull off. It looks like one of the switches is down here. This is the switch for the AM/FM, and then of course the volume and tone knobs and things are kind of behind the board. Here's the main chassis of the radio with the case set aside, and the first thing that I noticed is that the switch for band selection, FM/AM, is back here and operated with sort of like a grabber type feature. Here you can see I can activate it like this. So I don't have to take the board off to clean this switch. I should be able to just shoot some cleaner in there. And then over here you can see that the volume and tone control potentiometers should be accessible without removing the board. I should be able to kind of get in there with the tuner cleaner straw probably and get at those controls. So I should be able to take care of this without pulling those boards off. So I've got a couple of different options here to use, and the first is this electronics contact cleaner from ECG, and this is really good stuff. In fact, it's actually too good. What I've actually found is that this will melt some plastics, or at least attack them. So I'm not going to use this stuff on this radio. I think it's a little too harsh, and I don't want to attack the plastics. I do have this other stuff, which is something that you can buy at a general auto parts store, and they call it mass airflow sensor cleaner, but really all it is tuner cleaner. Really, I've used this stuff before with no problems. It seems to do the trick, and it's not quite as harsh on the plastic as this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to get in here and do the volume and tone controls first. Okay, now I'll work this in a little bit. Okay, now I'll just squirt a little on the AM/FM switch and kind of work that back and forth a couple times. And that should take care. Okay, so with all the controls cleaned up there, I think I'll throw the case back on. And that's just a simple matter of threading the power cord back through the opening and sliding this back on, and just making sure all the holes are lined up there, and we'll just put the screws back in and should be good to go here.